Archive reference, Greyfall Files, 004. The following case was first documented during the winter of 1924. Unlike many records preserved inside the Greyfall Archives, it did not begin with a disappearance. It did not begin with a murder. It did not begin with a photograph. It began with a sound. For generations, residents of Greyfall reported hearing church bells ring at exactly midnight. The sound was unmistakable, deep, resonant, powerful enough to travel across the entire town. Shopkeepers heard it, railway workers heard it, teachers heard it, police officers heard it. Even visitors passing through Greyfall occasionally mentioned hearing the bells shortly before leaving town. At first, nobody considered the reports unusual. Every town possessed bells. Every church possessed bells. Greyfall was no different. The problem emerged when investigators began reviewing parish records. According to official church documents, the bells of St. Aldric's Tower had been removed in 1882, more than 40 years earlier. Photographs confirmed it. Maintenance records confirmed it. Newspaper articles confirmed it. The bells had been taken down after a lightning strike fractured the bronze. The metal was later sold and melted down. They no longer existed. Yet every night, the people of Greyfall continued to hear them. And according to dozens of witness statements, the bells never missed midnight. Not once. The first serious investigation began after a local archivist noticed inconsistencies in the town records. His name was Samuel Crowe. Unlike most residents, Crowe trusted documents more than stories, and the documents created a problem. The parish archive contained multiple records describing the removal of the bells, invoices, repair orders, transportation manifests, even signed witness statements from workers who participated in the operation. Everything pointed toward the same conclusion. The bells had been removed permanently. Crowe became convinced that the midnight ringing must have another source, perhaps another church, perhaps an industrial mechanism, perhaps a local tradition misunderstood over time. Determined to solve the mystery, he interviewed dozens of residents. The testimonies created more questions than answers. Every witness described the same sound, the same volume, the same rhythm, the same number of chimes. Most disturbing of all, many claimed they could identify the direction. The bells always seemed to come from St. Aldric's Tower, the very tower that no longer contained them. When Crowe published his findings in the Greyfall Herald, several readers responded with letters. One letter contained only a single sentence: "The bells ring for those who are next." The sender was never identified. As Samuel Crowe's investigation expanded, the number of witness statements continued to grow. At first, the testimonies appeared ordinary. A baker walking home after closing his shop, a railway worker finishing a late shift, a widow unable to sleep. All described hearing the bells shortly after midnight. Then patterns began to emerge. Several witnesses reported waking moments before the ringing started. Not because of the bells, because of a feeling, an overwhelming sensation that something was about to happen. One resident claimed he always woke exactly 3 minutes before midnight. Another reported hearing footsteps outside his house moments before the bells rang. When he looked through the window, the street was empty. The most disturbing testimony came from Dr. William Harper, a respected physician, a man known for dismissing superstition. In a private statement later recovered from the archives, Harper admitted hearing the bells while standing inside St. Aldric's Tower itself. He described the sound as impossible. According to him, the ringing seemed to come from directly above. Yet when he looked upward, there was nothing there. No bells, no ropes, no machinery, only darkness. Harper never spoke publicly about the incident again. 6 months later, he left Greyfall without explanation. His destination remains unknown. By the spring of 1924, public curiosity had grown into obsession. Newspaper articles appeared weekly. Rumors spread faster than facts. Most investigators eventually abandoned the case. One man refused to let it go. His name was Edward Hale, a journalist employed by the Greyfall Herald. Unlike Samuel Crowe, Hale cared little for records. He wanted evidence, something he could see with his own eyes, something he could photograph, something he could publish. After reviewing decades of witness statements, Hale reached a simple conclusion. If the bells truly rang at midnight, someone needed to be inside the tower when it happened. On the evening of June 18, 1924, he began preparing for exactly that. He carried a notebook, a lantern, a camera, and enough provisions to remain inside the tower until sunrise. Before leaving the newspaper office, Hale wrote a short note to his editor. The note survives today. It contained only one sentence. By tomorrow morning, this mystery will finally be over. According to the archives, it was the last ordinary thing Edward Hale ever wrote. Edward Hale entered St. Aldric's Tower shortly before 11:30 p.m. The structure had been abandoned for years. Dust covered every surface. Spider webs stretched across the stairwell. The air smelled of stone, moisture, and age. As he climbed higher, Hale documented everything. His notebook contained detailed observations: the condition of the walls, the position of the windows, the absence of bells, the absence of ropes, the absence of anything capable of producing sound. At 11:58 p.m., he reached the bell chamber. According to architectural plans, it was the highest accessible point in the tower. Nothing existed above it. No attic, no storage room, no additional levels. Hale waited. The minute hand approached midnight. The tower remained silent. Then the clock struck 12, and the bells rang. Not outside, not below. Above him, directly above him. The journalist later wrote that the sound was so powerful he felt it vibrating through the stone beneath his feet. Yet when he raised his lantern toward the ceiling, he saw only darkness, and something else, a wooden hatch, hidden among the shadows. A hatch that did not appear on any blueprint of St. Aldric's Tower. The hatch resisted at first. Its hinges had not moved in decades, perhaps longer. According to Hale's notes, the wood felt unusually cold, far colder than the surrounding stone. After several attempts, the hatch finally opened. A narrow ladder led upward, into a space that should not have existed. Architectural plans dating back to 1811 showed no room above the bell chamber. Later renovations showed none either. Yet Hale found himself standing inside a small circular room. The walls were bare. The floor was covered in dust. No furniture, no windows, no obvious purpose. For several minutes he believed he had discovered nothing more than a forgotten storage space. Then he noticed the writing. Names. Hundreds of names, carved directly into the stone walls. Some were centuries old, others appeared recent. Many belonged to residents of Greyfall. Some belonged to people listed in the town cemetery, and several belonged to people who were still alive. At least, they were alive when Hale entered the tower. One name would later become particularly important: his own. Edward Hale spent nearly an hour examining the walls of the hidden chamber. The names appeared to have been carved over many generations. Some inscriptions were barely visible, others looked fresh, recent, as though someone had added them only days before. At first, Hale assumed he had discovered an old memorial, perhaps a forgotten tradition, perhaps a record maintained by priests. That theory collapsed quickly. Several names belonged to people who had never entered the church. Others belonged to travelers who had only passed through Greyfall briefly. Then Hale noticed something far more disturbing. Beside many of the names appeared dates, birth dates, death dates. At least that was what they seemed to be. Most matched public records, some did not. One inscription stopped him completely. The name belonged to a local merchant, a man Hale knew personally. The date beside the name indicated he would die 2 months later. At the time of the discovery, the merchant was healthy, 46 years old, with no known illness. Hale copied the name into his notebook. He copied several others as well. Then he made a discovery that would never appear in the newspaper. Near the center of the room, carved into the stone with unusual precision, he found his own name, Edward Hale, and beside it, a date less than 3 weeks away. Hale remained inside the chamber until dawn. Before leaving, he photographed everything: the walls, the inscriptions, the hidden room itself. When he returned to the Greyfall Herald, he immediately developed the plates. At first, the images appeared successful. Every detail remained visible. Every name could be read. Then he examined the final photograph. Something had changed. A figure appeared standing at the far end of the chamber, tall, motionless, partially obscured by shadow. Hale was certain no one had been present. He had searched the room himself. The figure appeared in only one image, yet something about it felt familiar. Later comparisons would reveal a troubling coincidence. The silhouette closely resembled descriptions found in another Greyfall case, a case involving a woman named Eleanor Finch, and a shadow that appeared in photographs shortly before people vanished. Hale reportedly noticed the connection immediately. According to surviving notes, he wrote only 4 words beneath the image: "It found me first." No explanation accompanied the statement. No further details were recorded. 3 days later, Edward Hale disappeared. The timing matched the date carved beside his name. His home showed no signs of disturbance. His office remained untouched. The article he had been writing remained unfinished. Police searched Greyfall extensively. No witnesses reported seeing him leave. No railway records indicated departure. No body was recovered. Then investigators discovered something unusual. Hale's camera had been returned to St. Aldric's tower, placed carefully inside the bell chamber, as though someone wanted it to be found. The final glass plate remained inside. The image was badly damaged. Most details could not be recovered. Only a small portion survived. Enough to reveal a staircase, a stone corridor, and several indistinct figures standing in darkness. Experts later disagreed about what the image showed. One detail, however, remained uncontested. The figures appeared to be looking directly at the camera, as though they had been expecting Edward Hale long before he ever entered the tower. Officially, the investigation into St. Aldric's tower ended in 1925. No explanation was accepted, no suspect identified, no evidence considered sufficient. Yet the bells continued, year after year, decade after decade. Residents still reported hearing them at midnight, even after the church itself closed, even after portions of the tower became unsafe. The most recent verified report dates to 1987. A maintenance worker entered the structure shortly before midnight, determined to prove the stories false. He carried recording equipment, a flashlight, and copies of the original investigation. At exactly 12 o'clock, the bells rang. The recording survived. The worker did not. He vanished before sunrise. The audio remains locked inside the Greyfall Archives. Researchers who listened to it noticed something strange. Beneath the ringing, other sounds could be heard: whispers, footsteps, and what some believe are voices, repeating names, one after another, as though someone were reading from a list carved into stone, hidden inside a room that should not exist. And according to a sealed archive memorandum, the bells have never been ringing for the town. They have always been ringing for someone. No one has ever discovered who. This file is closed. The mystery is not. Somewhere in Greyfall, another record is waiting to be found. I am Knox, and Greyfall remembers.
The next story is already waiting. Subscribe to enter the archive.